How do you balance the team winning 10 more games than it did last year, but it didn't get to the playoffs, which was kind of the state of the goal? How do you balance those two?
I think we didn't make the type of progress we had hoped to make this season. At the beginning of the year, we had a stated goal of making the playoffs, and clearly we came up short on that end. At the same time, though, I think there is a balance between recognizing the fact that we did make steady progress in our view, and we don't want to discount that. We had 10 wins to our total compared to last season with essentially the same roster, so we see that as a positive. And and then you consider the fact that we played in as many close games as almost anyone in the league. That's a positive too. Now the flip side of that is we got to figure out to win more of those games to get us where we ultimately need to be, which is the postseason. So that's on me. That starts with me, and I got to figure out a way to get our team better suited and better positioned to be in the postseason.
Well, you've often said that there's many ways to improve a team: free agency, trades, and you've said going to the kiddie pool, to the swimming pool. This summer, what are the objectives as far as what you guys need and how you can get there?
Sure. This is a summer for improvement, and we can improve a lot of different ways. I think we will improve internally by the development of our young core players. But it's an important summer to add to the team externally as well. And so we'll be as aggressive as any team in free agency. We'll be ambitious. At the same time, though, we'll be very disciplined. And I think that it's important for us to strike a balance between being heavily aggressive where we see opportunities, and then also making sure that we have the discipline to spend wisely and invest wisely, considering the circumstances that are changing in the spending environment this summer.
Rob, how many of your free agents do you anticipate being able to bring back?
That's a good question. I think that's a difficult one to answer 16 hours after the final game. I think we have a handful of free agents that we're certainly considering bringing back. All of them. There's going to be a lot of options, a lot of variables that we need to weigh. So I don't anticipate us having real clarity on that until leading up to July, because I do think that with the way we're positioned, we do need to improve the team. We have lots of different ways to do that. So we'll consider a full spectrum of options in that regard.
What about the priority on that?
Big priority. One of our biggest, if not our biggest priority this summer is to make sure Evan stays with us. And we're confident we'll be able to do that.
You talked a little bit about the improvement that the team made this year and being able to spend with discipline this summer, considering everything. If things break out, shake out the way they do, and the guys you want, go elsewhere or however it goes, do you feel confident that this group, as it's constructed now, can grow into that playoff team next year, or do you feel like you have to add something this summer to push them over that?
We feel like we need to add experience to the team, and that's something that I've said throughout the season. And I think it's something that, as the season has played out, we've been able to pinpoint the fact that we do need some of that experience to help stabilize us. So I think part of our strategy as we move into the summer is to certainly pinpoint plan A's and plan B's and certain contingencies, but all within the vein of trying to bring more experience to the team, because we think that with the nucleus we have and with a few veteran pieces, we'll be well positioned for the postseason.
Not giving away state secrets, but your recruiting pitch as a team that's been losing a lot of games in the last 4 years. We don't know how, Paul knows that was going to come or not, but how difficult is it to overcome when guys seem to want to go places that want to win?
Yeah, I think, free agency has become, a lot about players being able to survey their options, especially in a climate where there's a lot of money in the marketplace. And so I think for us, the selling points are fairly compelling. We have a really interesting, young, dynamic team that we feel are a couple pieces away from having a chance to be competitive for a long time, because we'll be able to have our young group together for a while. Everyone likes sunshine and 70 degrees and no state tax, so we feel like that's a major selling point for us. And we have a committed ownership in the DeVos family. We have state-of-the-art facilities, so we feel like we're well positioned. We saw a little bit of that last summer. Unfortunately, we weren't able to necessarily have the type of free agent summer we intended to, but we feel like we'll be in the mix this summer and summers thereafter as well.
Football, you need a quarterback to win. Baseball, you need pitching. Do you need more shooting to make a leap? There's so many teams that are taking 35, 40 threes a game, making 15, 18 threes a game. Do you need to add more shooting to keep up?
Yeah, I think you're always, if you're trying to build a basketball team, you're always looking to add more toughness, more competitiveness, and more shooting. If you look at our shooting splits this year, percentage-wise, we were about middle of the pack at three-point percentage. I think we may need to look at taking more threes than we did this year, but certainly that'll be a priority for us this summer. Across the board, kind of take shooting wherever you can find it.
Rob, when you got here, all you had to do was trade Dwight Howard. So, that's the pressure for a first year. Do you feel that this summer that you're under the gun as much as you were when you started?
Brian, I think certainly we feel pressure to win. Losing is unacceptable. And when I was hired here, the plan was such that we wanted to build a team that can be good for a while, not just good for the blink of an eye. And so, yeah, absolutely, we feel like this is a big summer for us to improve the team and to accelerate the improvement. But again, we have to be careful because what I want us to refrain from or protect ourselves from is, sort of a right now mentality, because I think oftentimes right now can lead to what now if you're not careful. So we just have to balance those things and look for opportunities and be very, very aggressive where we can be, but then also have the discipline to just make smart decisions and not overreact to emotion or perceived external pressure or whatever you want to call it.
Rob, do the Magic have a winning culture? And if not, where is it deficient?
I think we do have a winning culture. I do. I think that we're young, and so I think a lot of times the youth can produce inconsistency. But I think when you look at the work ethic, the heart, the competitive drive of our players and our team, we feel really good about the fiber and the fabric of what it is we're doing here, and the attitude and the desire to want to win. If anything, I think the appetite for success has been heightened through this season and not diminished. Guys are hungry and we want to win, and we got to figure out a way to get better, and that starts with me.
You made a pretty major move in the middle of the season, and part of the goal of that move was to bring better balance to the roster and hopefully make a playoff push. Obviously, there's still some long-term implications, and maybe that weighs a little bit more, but how do you evaluate the Tobias Harris trade sitting now at the end of the season as opposed to when it happened back in February?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little early to give a full report card on that. I think that we had hoped with Ersan and Brandon coming in here to make the playoffs. That was part of the impetus for the trade, and that didn't happen. So we'll have to see sort of what the flexibility we were able to open up with that transaction, what that does, what does that yield for us. We may have that answer 3 months from now. We may have that answer 6 months from now. We may have that answer 12 months from now. But I think it's just a little early to say definitively long term what that looks like. Short term, we hope to make the playoffs, and we did. So, and that is what it is.
Rob, what did you learn about having Scott around? He obviously drove the team and kept them playing hard all the way to the end.
Yeah, I thought Scott did a good job. I felt like the structure and the discipline, the accountability he brought to the team was something that our team benefited from. I think that knowing Scott as I do now, I think he's probably up in his office trying to figure out, what can he do better, the day after the season. And I'm doing the same thing in my office, and we all are. Again, the spirit is to try to improve. But I think Scott did a very good job for us, and we'll continue to do so.
Do you think a team needs a go-to player who has the ball in his hands late in games? And if so, is that player on the roster, or is that someone that you need to find in free agency if you believe that's the case?
Yeah, I think certainly doesn't hurt to have that guy. You know, I think we have guys on our team who we're confident can develop into that type of role, but again, I think we do need some type of bridge to that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the form of the guy that, you know, anyone can pinpoint as well. He's really good. It can be by committee, it can be finding that right chemistry of, okay, what are the pieces that we think we're missing? What type of experience do we think would help prop us up? And so I think there's lots of different avenues to take to get to that point. So I don't think it's necessarily you need to have a star, although we certainly you know, wouldn't shy away from that if one becomes available.
Rob, did you identify and target Paul Millsap fairly early in the process last summer? Can you share with us a little bit how that, and will you kind of do the same thing, or does it depend on what's out there, what's available, and kind of what you need?
Well, I think, Brian, I can't talk specifically about another player under contract, but I can tell you with respect to our free agent strategy, the goal is to, you know, over the next several months, and, you know, quite frankly, we've been preparing throughout the season, to pinpoint the players that we feel make the most sense for us, the players that we feel are realistic for us, and the players that we feel we need to be, you know, super aggressive in trying to acquire. And so a lot of it is based on a plan and based on a strategy to try to execute that plan. And, you know, we're going to put all our efforts and resources to try to get that done.
We've talked with the players and coaches and talking with them kind of in the moment about this too, but with how January played out, what were your reactions watching January and February kind of play out the way they did, and how did it affect you and kind of your planning for the trade deadline and beyond?
Yeah, you know, January was hard. I mean, it's, you know, it's no secret we really struggled during that month, and I think when you kind of reflect back on how we played in January versus how we played the first couple of months, I think in some ways maybe both of those were a little bit of a mirage or an illusion. I think, you know, as the old axiom says, that the truth usually lies somewhere in the middle. And so I think it just speaks to the fact that we're still searching for consistency, you know, night in and night out. I think that's a product of, again, our inexperience. And as we witnessed sort of the season play out, it became very apparent to myself and our staff that, you know, there were things we needed to do to tweak and upgrade the team, but not in a massive overhaul or dramatic fashion sense. But we felt there were some holes we needed to plug, and the trade deadline, I think, was a good starting point to give us the ability to start to plug those holes as best we can and as we see fit.
Rob, how do you evaluate Alfred Payton's season?
You know, I thought by and large Alfred played well. You know, I think he struggled a little bit with some health issues that I think hampered him a little bit. But you know, playing for a new coach, new system, being a young starting point guard, there's a lot of